In this video, we're going to talk about forming ions. On the top of page 82, you should have this piece of paper cut and glued, and then I want you to add these words to each of these. You might want to write them in color or to highlight them. So this information right here is going to tell you how to create ions. Cations are positively charged atoms. They are usually metals, and they lose all their valence electrons. It is pronounced cation, so you want to separate the word right here, cation. Let's take a look at this calcium and see how they got a +2 charge. All right, so calcium has an atomic number of 20. So if we looked at the number of protons and electrons, it means it has 20 protons and it has 20 electrons. That means that the overall charge is going to equal 0, or it's going to be neutral, because there are 20 positives and there are 20 negatives. To figure out what kind of ion calcium would form, we first need to look at the periodic table. Here's your periodic table, and calcium is located right here. It is in group 2A, and it's to the left of the stair-step line, so it is a metal. All right, since it is usually a metal, we're going to proceed with the cation information, and it tells us it's going to lose all its valence electrons. So let's go back to the periodic table. Calcium is in group 2A, which hopefully you remember means that it has 2 valence electrons. That color's not going to work. Let's use red. So calcium has 2 valence electrons. It has 2 valence electrons because it's in group 2A. It's going to lose 2 electrons, giving it an overall charge for electrons now 18 electrons. So now the overall charge is I have 20 positives to 18 negatives. That means my overall charge is +2, because I have 2 more protons than I have electrons. So the charge is +2. That is how they got the +2 charge, because it lost 2 electrons. Here's nitrogen. Nitrogen is an anion, and anions are negatively charged atoms. They are usually nonmetals, and they're going to gain electrons until they have an octet. We're going to do the same thing with nitrogen and figure out how they got the -3 charge. We're going to walk through the process. All right, so same thing. Let's first look at nitrogen. Nitrogen has an atomic number of 7. So for protons, it has 7 protons and it has 7 electrons. So the overall charge again is 0 when it is neutral. Let's find out if it's a metal or non-metal. Nitrogen is located right here on the periodic table, which means it's to the right of the stair-step line, and it makes it a non-metal. So it's a non-metal. And this says it's going to gain electrons until it has an octet. So we have to look at those valence electrons again before we can figure this out. To figure out the valence electrons for nitrogen, we're going to look at the column number. It's 15 or 5A. So we're going to pay attention to the 5. It's in group 5A, so it has 5 valence electrons. So I need to add something to that to make an octet. And keep in mind, octet means 8. I think this is an octet. If I do this math, I need 3 electrons, right? If I add 3 electrons to its 5 valence electrons, I'm going to get 8 electrons. And then if we look at the overall charge again, just to double check, I'm going to add these 3 electrons to this. I'm going to get 10 negatives. I still have 7 positives. So overall, I'm going to have a 3 minus charge. So whatever you're adding to get the octet becomes the charge.